That is what finance bill was talking to. But I am sure we will recover that when we have explained. The biggest challenge that I regret is that we didn't communicate better. Maybe we failed in explaining to Kenyans what the finance bill was all about. Because I promise you, if I am given a chance to explain to the people of Kenya what was in the finance bill and what the finance bill would have done for this country, every Kenyan would have agreed with me. But my regret is that you were here, Mr. President. They said you would have explained. We didn't explain ourselves better. Maybe my communication team failed. Maybe I'm sure my communication team failed. Our communication architecture did not deliver, did not get the message out to the people of Kenya. Yeah. In fact, if you look at what people were saying, they were saying, for example, there is a matter of land on the finance bill. There was no matter of land in the finance bill, not even a single line. And it is on that basis that people rejected the finance bill and many other things that were not in the finance bill. Now, communication is about words, Mr. President. Let's go to the deeds. Because when you see what Gen Zs are doing, for the first time in the history of this country, we've had protests on the altar of the Holy Family Basilica. Because the young people of this country are telling you the political culture which you've been part of having politicians speak in church, converting the platforms into, converting the pulpit into campaign platforms must end. So I'm not hearing you addressing and looking more inward into this whole picture that the Gen Z is painting. They're not just talking about some of the things that you're raising. On that, Linus, I have even had an occasion to speak to church leaders here. On that, on matters of politics on the pulpit, I am 100% aligned. We shouldn't
kazi yako ni kuongea nikirekodi
pulpits in churches or in any other places of worship to prosecute politics. It is not right. And I agree, we need to change that culture. We need to change the culture of Harambee. Harambee started as a noble exercise. It supported many people to go to school. It supported many people to deal with the challenges of medication and hospital bills. But I think it has been stretched. It's bred corruption. It has stretched too far. And I think it's time corruption as a country we must stop corruption. We must stop Harambee because it is occasioning and it is breeding, if I may say, corruption. Yeah, because when you are aid of a much lower pay grade donates 20 million shillings to a church fundraiser, there is something fundamentally wrong. And that is why this conversation is necessary so that we can stop it.
Conversation, Mr. President, on Thursday, on Wednesday, you said you are hearing what the Gen Zs are saying, and you're going to initiate a conversation. We saw the head of public service release a press release saying that there is now a formation of a national multi-sectoral forum that will bring together all people. And you started having conversation with church leaders. The Gen Z, upon seeing this, are saying, we do not ask for a conversation. We ask for action. So what action is going to precede this conversation? Because a conversation is another talk. It reminds people of the NADCO talks, the BBI talks, IPPG talks that just happen and they just don't end. And people are saying, we want action, Mr. President. But we will participate in action, in conversations maybe later. But now, now, Mr. President, what's the action?
I promised that I will engage the young people. Yeah, I promised. I was just making good my promise. And I promised a multi-sectoral forum, and that's what I have put out. I also promised that These are some of the topics I want us to discuss. I want us to discuss debt. I want us to discuss taxation. I want us to discuss unemployment. I want us to discuss corruption. I want us to discuss these issues. And it was a suggestion, and I am open. I am hearing that the young people are saying we don't want a multi-sectoral forum. Maybe we should have an engagement with the president on X. And I am open to having an engagement with the young people on a forum that they are comfortable with. If they want if they want me to engage with them on X, I will be there.
At this point, Mr. President, do you think you know what the young people want?
I have many young people in my house.
Are they telling you all
the same ones that are in all these other spaces? And they want an engagement. They have ideas. They have suggestions. And I am open. If what we are doing on the digital space, on the housing program, on the export of labor, on manufacturing, if they have suggestions, I am open to those suggestions. They can improve. They can change. They can make new suggestions. And I also have a responsibility as a father, because these are our children. I have also a responsibility to guide and to listen to them and to tell them, yes, on this, I agree. For example, let's not have a spouse's office. I agree. Let's not have CASS for now. I agree. Let us not have advisors. We will agree. Let us not have the churches being a space for politics. I agree. So many of these areas, we need to even have a conversation. If we are paying 46% of our revenues for salaries and wages, when the legally established space should be 35%. That is why I started a conversation with Salaries and Remuneration Commission. We must deal with the issue of wages and salaries so that we bring them down to 35% and leave more money for our development. That is a conversation I am very happy about.
Well, Mr. President, it's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks of you saying every day we are going to
we just
know what they say on social media.
I say
call you the president of Tutafanya, Tutatenga, Tutafanya, Tutarudi.
No, but I'm here.
You're saying,
but I'm here.
We are going to have a conversation.
I said within a week. I gave a timeline. Within a week. Yeah. So within a week, we will have agreed on where are we meeting. Are we meeting at the X space? I am ready for that X space. Are we agreeing on this multi-sectoral? I'm waiting to see the suggestions that Kenyans have. I don't want to prescribe any suggestion, but when I give out a suggestion, I expect feedback. I expect people to say, maybe this is okay, maybe this is not okay, and then we agree on a way to
Mr. President, any of them analyzing what you have actually said tonight on the issue of your advisors, your cabinet, what you're going to do, what Kenyans like to call heads that are going to roll as a result of this national shame, because that is what many people have called it. You have said, watch this space. And here there are all these other things that young people are asking you about. What is that concrete thing that you're telling them tonight that I have heard you? These are the things I've heard you say since all these things started, and this is what I have done. Because you seem to have withdrawn or declined to sign this finance bill rather grudgingly, but not in good faith, having understood what people were saying. You're regretting this thing. You're saying, you guys, mutaona. That is what we are hearing.
Let me tell you that I will not lie to the country that putting down the finance bill is going to be easy. I'll not be a leader. I have to be brutally honest. And those consequences, it will start with me. To cut down the budget in my office, to remove what we call austerity, to implement an austerity program that will cut down on unnecessary stuff, unnecessary offices, or offices that we can take down. I am ready to even engage the young people and for them to, because they want an engagement. I too want an engagement for us to agree. So what do we do with the debt? What do we do with the following? What do we do with the following? They will tell me, do this, fire so and so, fire so and so, do this, and I will tell them what is possible and what I think we could do it differently. Or are you telling me that I should just listen and implement without making a contribution to the conversation? I thought we are having a...
I'm just telling you what they are saying. I'm not saying anything else. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing, because you did say you're not in their spaces, but I am in their spaces.
And in 2 weeks, Your Excellency, by now you'd have known what you should do. And I mean, there are basics. Which 2 weeks? 2 weeks of the riots and 2 weeks of the protests. It's been 2 weeks. It started the other Monday. So let me ask you, Linus, the protests, I finally decided that because we didn't communicate sufficiently to the people of Kenya the import of the finance bill, and there was so much built around it, including a lot of fake things, that were not in the finance bill. Many things that were not in the finance bill were used to fight the finance bill. And at some point, many people did not even care what was in the finance bill. Do not care. I think, at some point, as leaders, we must stop somewhere and say, we have a country to run. I mean, we cannot be reckless. We must, at some point, stop and say, what are the consequences? Because everything we do has consequences. And we must be careful as a nation to make sure that our country does not go down to the dogs. And believe me, countries, have gone in the wrong direction. And we must be careful. And I don't want to be the leader that took the country in the wrong direction. We must be measured. We must be careful. We must listen to the young people. We must listen to other views and be able to make a carefully well thought out plan for the country out of where we are. Yeah, but what if the protesters are actually saying something in totality about your government, not just about the finance bill? It's not about just the finance bill, is it? Linus, as I have told you, we are a democracy. The people of Kenya can make a decision. Yeah? And I am perfectly, alive to the fact that when the people of Kenya finally, the same way they decided to elect me, when they make another decision, we will comply as the people of Kenya. That's what a democracy is all about. People can vote in a government, people can vote out a government for whatever judgment the people have. So I want to be very clear to the people of Kenya that I will do my best to make sure that I tell the country the truth and I take the country forward. And I am committed to that. And I can see Kenya changing. If I had managed to pass this finance bill, Kenya would not be the same. We would take this country to the next level. The kind of investment I have made, the kind of collaboration with many friends that we have done, we would begin to see this country soaring into the future. But all is not lost. Maybe we have taken one step back. Sometimes maybe it is necessary to take one step back to be able to take many steps forward. And that is my thinking of this situation.
Well, but surely it must bother you, Mr. President, that 2 years ago you ran such a euphoric campaign with things like Hatupangwingwi, And 22 months down the line, your state house is surrounded by the military. The military tanks, scary as they are rolling on the streets of major cities. And as we sit here today, people are saying Ruto must go. Surely that is such a fast slide. There must be something that causes one to pause and say, how did we get here? What happened here? And one would have expected an earth-shaking statement tonight that tells the country, I get it. Something has shifted in a major way in our country, and I'm also shifting as your president who's listening, and this is a new direction things are going to take.
Let me tell you, Joe, I came into office at a difficult time. Yeah? We have a combination of coming out of COVID. We have a serious drought that hit our country. We had interest rates that went up everywhere. We went into a very difficult situation. What did many countries do? Many countries went and defaulted. And I don't want to mention countries because it's not right to mention. But almost 8 countries in Africa went down. Many people expected Kenya to be among the 8. But believe you me, I have carefully managed the economy of Kenya. Kenya is not among the countries that have defaulted. If anything, we have running programs in Kenya. We have a whole housing program that is running. We have a whole digital program that is running. We have made changes in our education. We've hired more teachers. We've made sure that we have a new funding model for our universities. We have supported our farmers. We have reduced the cost of living. We have done many things, even in the context of all the challenges that we have had. I am telling you, I came in and I believe I'm the right person to be in this space when Kenya is in a difficult position, because I believe I am the person who can sort out the challenges that faces Kenya at a point like this.
But when the public and the protesters, the Gen Z, some of who actually formed the base of your election campaign, are telling you, we are disappointed, you've not delivered. Hashtag Ruto must go. What do you tell them?
Let me tell them the following. Good friends, the young people of our nation, my sons and daughters who supported me to win the election. I hear you. In fact, I think it was on your headline, a gentleman from my village who was saying, the president has let us down. Many children in this village are not getting jobs locally. That is why they are going abroad. Little did he know, my good friend from my village, that the children, the 500 of his colleagues around our village, are actually part of my plan on export of labor. I intentionally supported them to leave the country because we got them jobs outside Kenya. So I am telling the young people of our nation to be patient. Our housing program is rolling. We will be hiring more architects, we will be hiring more engineers, we will be hiring more professionals to support our housing program. In the next 2 years, we will have 300, maybe 1,000 people working in that space. Be patient. We are sorting out the challenges that are facing our digital space. We are rolling out our digital space. Young guys, by the end of next year, God willing, we will have a digital hub in every ward in Kenya, because we've already started that process. Every Tibet in Kenya today has an ICT hub with young people monetizing their talent. I want to tell them we are full speed into manufacturing. That is why we're saying we're no longer importing clinker, we're no longer importing steel, we're no longer importing clinker, we're no longer importing furniture. We are going to stop importing eggs, we're going to stop importing onions and all this, because we want to promote our local manufacturing to be able to create jobs for them. We are no longer going to be importing diapers or sanitary pads from other countries. They are going to be manufactured here.
Mr. President,
I have worked with the industries to make sure that we create opportunities for these young people. We are going to work with them to deal with the challenge of corruption. We're going to work with them to cut down on government lunches. I am going to make sure that we have a lean government that responds to the reality of where we are as a country. That is what I am telling my good young people.
There's another group of young people